Greetings from Mexico. I am Nayelli Rivera from BUM, Universidad Urbana de México, and Universidad Autónoma de Nuevo León. And here today, I'm in a very beautiful park in Monterrey, Mexico. And today I'm going to talk you about a very interesting paper that is named Vulnerability of Bat Plant Pollination Interactions Due to Environmental Change. This is a very interesting paper because all the actors, we are from the Global South. Verónica Zamora Gutiérrez, me, Nayelli Rivera, Santiago Martínez, Arturo Castro, and Jesus Aguirre. Well, in these few next minutes, I'm going to talk to you about the content of this interesting paper and the take-home message about this. Well, you probably know that pollination is one of the most important ecological processes in terrestrial ecosystems because from 80% to 90% of the plants with flowers depend on animal pollination. Well, despite the importance that have nectarivorous bats, they face several threats. For example, land use change, climate change, pollution, and so on. Here in Mexico, we have 12 bat species of the subfamily Glossophagidae that are specialized in eating nectar. Well, the interesting thing about the methods is that we included also in the distribution of the co-occurrence patterns the change about the data traits of about bats and plants. For example, for bats, we included traits, for example, at forearm length, liters per year, wing aspect ratio, wingspan, and so on. And for the plants, we included data from their line form, for example, phanerophytes, epiphytes, and other examples, and also the type of metabolism, C3, C4. And this is because these traits can respond to a changing environment. Well, in this case, we studied how it could be disrupted the co-occurrence patterns between nectarivorous bats, the 12 bat species of subfamily Glossophagidae, and 127 plants that they pollinate in Mexico, and how this could be interrupted and affected in the near future. This is very important because it's very important to highlight that the co-occurrence patterns is not the same as interaction, but in this case we applied it as a surrogate of interactions. Well, we basically found that under this scenario, and under a scenario of 8.5 of RCP, Mexico will experience a loss in bat richness of 21%. 21% of the territory will lose loss of richness in bats. So this is very awful, this is very important. However, most of the territory will maintain the same number of bat species. This is because here in Mexico we have nectarivorous bats almost in great part of Mexico. Well, for the plants, we found that some species of Malvaceae, the plants that have the metabolism of C3, aka Ceiba and Pseudobombax and other species, could experience a loss in their area of distribution by 6.5%. And for the other part, for the CAM or KAM species such as agaves and columnar cacti, we predicted an increase of their area of distribution. So this reflects that under a scenario of land use and climate change, not all the species are losers. We found that it will increase their distribution about 1%. So this is very little, but they don't lose. So, however, this is not a very great news. Moreover, the plants with the live form of phanerophytes were predicted to reduce their area of distribution by 14%, aka some of the some of the species of Malvaceae. So, in summary, these possible future mismatches will cause disruption of the co-occurrence and the network interactions between plants and bats. And this in the future will put at risk the pollination services that bats provide us. So this is very important because we all know that bats can pollinate agaves, columnar cacti, and very important species that has relevant in a cultural, economic, and ecological role. Okay, Well, just as a summary, some of the take-home messages is that we found that the plants, these changes in the bat plants interactions will be more. These changes is mainly caused by the changes in the distribution and the richness of the plants. This is because the plants may suffer a greater effect on a scenario of land use change and climate change rather than the nectarivorous bats. Also, some of other interesting results of this study is that we found that the plants will increase their elevation of where they can occur, and this is a very important part, because in order we increase our elevation in the territory of Mexico, we have less suitable area. We have less area because the mountains, the top of the mountains is a very restricted area. Well, the reason why we found results contrary to our expectations around the changes in the distribution and richness patterns about the bat species is because more or less in all Mexico we have 1 to 3 bat species, and this not change a lot under these scenarios of climate and land use change. Also, however, there are not great news, because there are some parts of Mexico that will suffer a great loss of richness. For example, the seasonal tropical dry forest areas that again are very important for their biodiversity, because are considered hotspots. So this is not great news, because this will be some of the specific vegetation that will suffer the greatest loss of richness and distributions of bats. Well, the reason why we found results contrary to our expectations around the changes in the distribution and richness patterns about the bat species is because more or less in all Mexico we have 1 to 3 bat species, and this not change a lot under these scenarios of climate and land use change. Also, however, there are not great news, because there are some parts of Mexico that will suffer a great loss of richness. For example, the seasonal tropical dry forest areas that again are very important for their biodiversity, because are considered hotspots. So this is not great news, because this will be some of the specific vegetation that will suffer the greatest loss of richness and distributions of bats. Well, this is all for my part. Thanks a lot. I hope that you are enjoying and learning a lot in this bat advent calendar this year, and let's keep loving bats. Bye.